Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Barry Faulkner. I'm actually going to be running the Dotdigital presentation today around personalization. So I'm going to be just taking you through a few aspects of the platform that you can utilize to do this. The ethos of Dotdigital, it's all around personalization. There's a lot that we can cover, so I'll just try and keep it just kind of as top level, but as broad as well, because I appreciate we're going to have a variety of people joining the call today from um, a mixture of e-commerce businesses through to non-commerce businesses, for example. So personalization is going to differ amongst people that are listening today. So I'll try and keep it as kind of broad and as generic as I can. But I'm an account executive here at Dotdigital, so my role primarily is to take people through the platform, answer any questions that you have. So I would encourage, if you have any questions today, please feel free to pop it into the questions tab, and either myself or one of my colleagues will respond to you, whether that's live today or following the call. But please do that, and yeah, we'll be happy to help in any way we can. So before I hop in, I thought it'd be really good just very briefly, just for the first few minutes, maybe just talk a little bit around personalization, what that actually means. It's quite a broad topic. I think generally we all know what it means, but it's definitely a minimum expectation now moving forward. So just to set the scene a little bit, I've just prepared a few slides for you. Now, a few things that you may or may not be aware of, certainly me as a consumer now, or basically with any interaction that I have with any brand or business that I tend to get involved with nowadays, I say this rings true. So 71% of consumers, they do expect personalized interactions with companies nowadays. This is information and statistics actually from a McKinsey report just on the value of personalization. And actually 76% of people are disappointed when they don't get it. So what is personalization? I think we all probably know, but I guess the basic fundamentals of personalization in marketing are that communications ultimately should be relevant and timely. It's communication on a one-to-one level with your individual customers, timed essentially after triggered events. So shortly I'm going to be going into how you can be relevant by crafting tailored campaigns and using your customer data and exploring things like dynamic content, pulling on your data to deliver messages that are going to resonate there. First of all, though, I suppose it starts with actually having a marketing toolkit that allows you to easily craft these types of messages, including things like video content, GIFs, emojis. These are all things now that we're using to talk to each other with and interact with brands and businesses across different channels, whether it's email, SMS, live chat, through customer service teams, WhatsApp. There are so many touch points now with businesses and brands, and a big part of the challenge with personalization is providing a consistent experience for people across those channels using that data. So I suppose before we hop in, and for those of you that may or may not know Dotdigital, what is it? So in essence, Dotdigital is a cross-channel marketing automation platform, and it allows you to connect all of your data, providing insights on whether they're customers or brands or accounts, and providing insights, on that data that's going to enable you to easily create hyper-personalized customer experiences seamlessly, essentially wherever your customers choose to interact with your business. So, like I said, whether it's via your website, email, SMS, WhatsApp, or anywhere else for that matter. So, essentially, by joining the dots, Dotdigital can help you provide that consistent, positive experience with the business. So, super simple to do in our platform, and I'm going to show you a few aspects of this shortly. But personalization now, I think, has gone just beyond including a first name and a message. It's about using not only data that you're collecting, but it's actually also using insight data. So things like, intelligent tracking scripts on your website. So, following your customers around and understanding, more about them based on what it is that they're clicking on, looking at, browsing, opening in terms of content, for example, and then tailoring messages as such. So I guess in marketing personalization, it refers to the strategy of creating tailored experiences and communications for individual customers or segments, based on data and insights and various demographics. But ultimately, the goal of personalization is really to provide a really positive experience and engagement, and ultimately loyalty. And it covers a variety of things from data collection to segmenting your customers, customizing content, personalizing the on-site experience, using behavioral targeting. ultimately, life cycle marketing. You're mapping customer journeys. You're using technology and automation to kind of pull it all together, and then ultimately, it's about seeking feedback and continuous improvement to continuously improve that experience, with brands. So now I'm going to hop into the platform and show you a little bit about Dotdigital, and I suppose how we can kind of pull this all together. So I appreciate there might be some current users, there might be some new users, there might be some new people that are just new to Dotdigital. So hopefully this will be insightful. But again, please feel free to ask any questions in the questions area, and either myself or one of my colleagues will get back to you. So just bear with me while I just quickly switch my screens here. Great, so hopefully you guys can all see the Dotdigital landing page now. So I suppose in terms of where we'll start, first and foremost, really it's all about your customer data and connecting your data. So the more data that you have in platform, the more flexibility and versatility you'll be able to open in terms of personalization. So for anybody that's joined any previous webinars on Dotdigital, you'll know that we're a very robust platform. We have a huge number of out-of-the-box integrations. For example, there's lots of things that you can plug in. So really the key to unlocking your personalization capabilities will be actually combining and uniting and unifying all your customer data, whether it's a pre-built integration or using our API. We need to get all that good stuff into the platform, and then essentially once it's in there, we'll then start creating lists and using the segmentation tool to actually then define who it is that we want to target and how we want to personalize our communication. So in segmentation, like I said, we're going to have a wide variety of people on this call today from different industries, businesses. So have a think while we're going through this, in terms of your particular business and how you could segment your particular types of customers. But essentially in Dotdigital, once the data is all in, there are various ways basically that you can segment your customers. You can segment them based on behavioral information. So, you can personalize based on customers that are opening up specific emails or specific links in your emails that are replying to maybe particular events that you're running. You can segment your customers on data fields. So for example, you could look at people whose I don't know, maybe industry, is something specific, oil and gas, for example. Or you could segment your customers on potentially job title, so you might be a business that's targeting marketing professionals. You could segment based on, if you're an e-commerce business, you could segment on your customer's average order value. You could say, I want to segment and focus on people whose average order value is more than £300, for example. You could segment based on your last unpurchased or product purchased. Lots of different things that you can segment on. So have a think about your business and how you can do that. You can also then segment, in terms of personalization, based on what people are putting into their baskets. If you're a commerce business, what they're consenting to via your preference center in terms of what they want to hear from you about in terms of marketing. So, is it just general newsletters? Is it updates? Is it information on a specific product? Is it information on a specific event? You could segment based on web insights. So, if they've been to your website recently, you could add your URL, and you could potentially put in a specific page, for example, and you could segment based on people who have been there in potentially the last 3 days, for example, or they've been on your website for a specific time, or maybe it's a specific product, even down to an SKU level, or potentially a particular blog. So lots of different ways that you can actually start segmenting your customers, and then it's all about pulling it together with your marketing content. So once you've done that, and again, you might be actually thinking now, oh, actually, I've only got limited data on my customers, or maybe you've got so much data, where do we start? Well, that's something that we can help you with in both cases. So if it's something that you need to build on, with Dotdigital, obviously you can use things like landing pages and surveys and forms, to embed onto your website, or use strategic popovers to collect data on your customers, so you can understand more. But once you've got obviously all that data in platform, you can then start thinking about the types of messages and content that you want to put together, almost like a first stage of personalization. So if I just go into, let's say, an email template here to start the process of potentially personalizing a campaign for someone. Now, like I said at the beginning of the call, personalization, it goes beyond kind of first name now. I think that's very much a minimum requirement, and it's now starting to tailor content that's interesting to people, that's specific to people, that resonates. I think we're all getting emails throughout the day now that, I mean, sometimes it's hard to just cut through all the noise, but I think we're very particular. Our attention spans are so short, and we're very particular now what we choose to read, what we choose to spend our time reading. We've got pretty much 20, 30 seconds in most cases to grab people's attention. So it's really important actually that from the moment you land in someone's inbox, so creating catchy subject lines all the way through to actually when they open those emails, the content that you're displaying, that they are personalized to that person, and whether or not it's via the industry or their particular interests, or if it's a particular brand, or they've told you they want to hear about specific things. It's making sure that actually when you're collecting this data, you're using it intelligently to engage with your audiences. Now, Dotdigital has various tools to help you with this. So for example, if I say, hi, welcome to Harry's Bootcamp, for example. Now, I've got absolutely no idea if that's going to resonate with my audience, but what I can do is I can actually use our inbuilt Winston AI. This is almost like a campaign assistant to potentially suggest alternatives that might be more catchy, more personalized, more engaging based on my brand. So get fit and fabulous with Barry's Bootcamp, or your ultimate fitness destination. Welcome to the Sweat Squad, whatever you might like to do. You might want to then decide, actually, I've done some A/B testing again, and I can actually understand that, including the use of a first name, for example, is going to resonate better. So again, I can just very easily, pull in any sort of data source, for example, that I want to here, whether it's a particular name or a brand or whatever it might be. In this case, let's just maybe look at, name or something here. We could do that. We might have done some split testing to suggest potentially that in terms of a tone, our people respond much better to funny or witty tones. Again, it could be something as simple as emoji. Okay, great, I like this. Or I want to potentially look at including an emoji. Great, I can do that. Fantastic. I'm starting to personalize this now. But I think where the fun starts is actually when you get into the content section in your easy editor, and you can actually use things like dynamic content then actually to change imagery and things, based on the message that you want to portray. So if I just pull in a couple of images here, for example, and show you a little bit about dynamic content and how we can use it in the Dotdigital platform to personalize messages. Let's pretend that this is just sort of a generic newsletter, for example, and I want to communicate to different types of people, in my database. I can pull in basically anything from people that might be interested in, my general communications here. I'm just going to start building this out now in a second. I can create variations as well. So this is where dynamic content comes in. So for example, I could say, obviously, that based on my preference center, I could say my preference is based on hearing about, the basics, whatever it might be. And then I'll bring in some slightly different imagery here. It could be something along the lines of, membership renewal dates, for example, occurs before, let's say the end of the month. Okay. And then again, it's using things like the generative AI and the campaign assistant then to really tailor messages in platform. So welcome to Barry's Bootcamp. Now, it may be that I don't really know where to go from here. I'm kind of thinking, right, well, how can I engage? How can I get people excited? Again, you can actually use the sort of generative AI, Winston AI here to actually change the length of this and expand on this piece of text here, for example, and then we'll get into how we can kind of personalize this a little bit more potentially to our brand or business. So I've gone from 4 words there to a really nice piece of text in just one click. Now, I feel like that might be just a little bit too long, so I might just want to change the length of that and shorten that. Now, as a brand, it could be that, or a business, our particular clientele actually prefer a more friendly tone. It could be that they prefer a more professional tone. It could be that they prefer actually a funny tone. It could be we're a bit of a tongue-in-cheek brand or whatever it may be. It could be that we're interacting with students. We can change this round. We can, again, add emojis if that's what we've understood that these particular recipients interact with. And then we've gone actually just from 4 words to a really nice piece of content, which we can actually start including in our communications. And to give you a sense of basically then how dynamic content can basically change things for you, I'll just add a little video box in here as well. We can start adding in some video content. Again, you can actually have dynamic video content if you prefer. But if I quickly go and preview text here, just to show you a little bit about how dynamic content works here. This could be my generic text just for everybody that's just recently signed up for Barry's Bootcamp, and there's the lovely text that we've just added, and there's some really nice engaging video content. But for everybody that I know is interested in my basics program, this is what they're going to receive. And I could have some information here basically on the basics. For everybody then whose membership is set to renewal, the content will change differently. So again, you're using your data effectively to change what's going to present to your recipients, again based on whatever data sources that you want to use. And really with dynamic content, if I just bring the block in, for example, just to show you how versatile this can be, you can create variations based on any data field. So I've just clicked on your data source here. You can have hundreds and hundreds of data sources, and there's really no limitations to how you can segment this. So if you've got data on your customers to say that they are in, I don't know, the education sector, for example, you can actually change the content then to be specific to a faculty or a particular section of the education, whether it's universities or high schools or primary schools or whatever it might be. If you're a charity, for example, you can change. If you are a business focusing on particular types of job titles, again, you can change the content based on job titles. If you want to focus on, people in specific areas, you can look at postcodes or regions. So again, you can really tailor the content. There's no limitation here. As long as we've got the data in the platform, just going back to the importance of actually unifying your data and pulling that in, you can really create content and use dynamic content to change what renders to your recipients. To make sure that really resonates and hits home with them. There's no point sending something around education to somebody that works in the oil and gas industry. Similarly, there's no point sending, somebody who's just starting out on their fitness journey, really advanced workouts, for example. Again, depending on the industry you work, have a think about your particular type of business and actually what you can do. If you work in travel and tourism, for example, and you've got visitors that are coming to London for a weekend, you can really start looking at, well, actually, what products can I display to inspire these people to actually make a purchase. There are various basically parts of the platform that you can unlock to drive, and it goes just beyond including general content, so whether it's blogs, articles, video content. It could be specific products. So for example, you can actually do product recommendations. You can send out tailored messages based on what people have got in their carts. For example, you could bring in, the classic abandoned carts, or if they're browsing particular things, what is it that they've previously browsed on the website. You can bring in, again, if you're in e-commerce businesses, your best-selling products under a particular, price point. You can really tailor then the on-site experience. For example, if you have data on your customers, to know that they spend on average under, £300, there's really no point sending them information or products that are £1,000 plus, because they're probably not going to buy them, truth be told. So again, you can really use your data to send relevant content based on behaviors, trends, what people have said they want to hear from you about, what they've clicked on your website, products that they've bought in the past, products that they're browsing, things that they're putting in their baskets, whatever it might be. If it's a membership organization, if it's people that are looking at your gold tier, your silver tier, your bronze tier, it's then about, communicating the benefits of those various tiers and maybe educating them on what they could get. Great, I understand that you've recently come to our website and you're looking at our, bronze membership. Well, this is all the great things that you can get. However, for X amount more, you can actually unlock these features. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of tailor this content in your email campaigns. And it goes just beyond email as well, because people now are on multiple channels, and I think personalization now is becoming more advanced, more sophisticated, and people expect personalized experiences wherever they speak to your brand. So whether it's email, which is still one of the most popular mediums, but SMS and MMS, WhatsApp is becoming increasingly popular now. Messenger, whether people prefer to respond to you on social channels. If you're an app-based business, push notifications are a really great way to personalize communications, again, based on the data that you hold. So really the power of the Dotdigital platform is to enable you to pull all this data into any of these channels, whether it's email, SMS, WhatsApp, and pull it all together to provide a consistent customer journey. And of course, you want to make sure that constantly throughout the process, the content that you're providing is engaging, it's relevant, it's going to hit home to your recipients. So again, you can use the inbuilt AI to continuously seek feedback. So in this individual campaign, the feedback assistant will literally give you advice and feedback on absolutely every single content block, again, to help you personalize this to the recipient. And of course, if you wanted to convert anything in here very easily to, let's say, an SMS, and you wanted to then start personalizing your messaging on your channel, in one click, you could basically take the content of your email and actually then start, a whole host of things, whether it's, embedding a page in a form. You can easily do that to gather data via an SMS or SMS message. Again, for data capture here, this can all feed back nice and easily through the Dotdigital platform. But to show you how easy it is then to kind of tailor these messages through automations. Once you've built your content, whether it's in email, SMS, WhatsApp, Messenger, push notifications, you can use our automation suite. And we do have a series of pre-built automations, of course, that you can use, everything from like an event nurture program all the way through. But I'm just going to open up a blank one here for you, just to show you how easy it is to actually start tailoring personalized journeys. So as you can see here, you'll always have a starting condition, and these marketing messages and these personalization strategies are always going to start on the back of a trigger. So whether it's somebody signing up for a newsletter, and starting their journey with you on a welcome program, all the way through to somebody making their first purchase, whether it's a birthday, however you choose to communicate, whether it's key moments, key dates, just general information. There'll be a starting point, of course, and then you define how you want that journey to look, ultimately based on what your people say that they want to hear from you about. So it may be that actually in your preference center you've captured data to say that email is the preferred medium. Of course, then you can tailor email. You might have people that like a hybrid, so they like multiple channels. You might like people that just want SMS. So again, throughout the process, you can really tailor your content. So for example, here I'll just create a really basic flow for you. Customer signs up to welcome newsletter here. You set the starting conditions, the rules, the enrollment limits. You then select the campaign that you've you've built in your easy editor. So it could be as simple as, here's my first welcome journey. You could then potentially, you know, add a decision and create a rule. Look at your preferences. So it could be that they've selected, a particular preference, and it could be, they want to hear about newsletters or services or events or the environment or offers, or it could be actually they prefer to hear from me from SMS or maybe WhatsApp or another channel, potentially direct mail. At which point then, if you've gathered some data to understand that recipient would actually prefer an SMS route, again, you can then put together a very nice tailored SMS campaign. And that could involve SMS messages. It actually could involve WhatsApp. It could be a whole variety of mobile personalization touch points. You could continue down an email route. You could actually bring in Facebook audiences, Google Ads, Messenger communications. I don't actually have a WhatsApp account attached here, but obviously if you're a business that's engaging in WhatsApp and you've got your business account attached to the digital platform, you'd actually see the WhatsApp icon here and you could actually drag that in, for example. So there's lots of versatility here, and really with Dotdigital, the power of it is it's enabling you to personalize all these touch points, whether it's emails, SMS, live chat, WhatsApp, whatever it might be. Super simple to pull it all together in automations there. And of course, then there's a whole host of analytics then that you can drill down into. So whether it's information on landing pages and forms, information on your opens, clicks, bounces, just to gauge your engagement levels. You can really drill down into the data to understand actually if your personalization strategy is working or not. Or lean into your customer success manager. Dotdigital, we work with over 4,000 brands, and we've got lots of experience, in personalizing comms. So we can definitely help you with your strategy. That's really not a problem. I don't know if anybody's got any questions at this point. Please feel free to sort of add them into the chat. I'm happy to sort of answer anything ad hoc, or if we can, we'll sort of take them away. But I might just give you just a minute or two maybe to pop some questions in there. I've got a question actually from Grace Collis. Thank you, Grace. Can Winston AI learn your brand voice and make suggestions based on that? Yes, absolutely. So Winston AI, as part of what it does is, for example, in the instance where I put in the easy editor earlier, welcome to Barry's Bootcamp, what Winston AI did, it's best based on Microsoft Azure ChatGPT. It sort of scours the internet, learns everything it can about Barry's Bootcamp, the tone, everything, and it'll actually bring back some suggestions based on your brand messaging, your tone. So yes, it can. It learns your brand voice. Very, very good like that. But again, obviously, I mean, AI is uncharted territory, isn't it? We're very excited about, the work that we're doing with it at the moment. But, again, everything is, you would just ultimately read it. If you like it, great, you can use it. If not, you can play around with the various features. You can change the tone. You can make it more witty, fun, professional, casual, friendly, whatever it might be. But yes, it does learn your brand voice. If anybody's got any more questions, please feel free to pop them in. I'll just give you a minute or two. This is also being recorded, by the way, so for anybody that would like a copy of this, we can share it. It'll be posted on our website as well. So no, that's absolutely fine on the question front. One thing that we really haven't sort of spoken about today, because we're really going through the platform, personalization actually just can go beyond obviously your email and SMS strategy. So if you're a brand, for example, or a business that is focused on personalizing the on-site experience as well, you can actually do that with Dotdigital. I don't actually have a website demonstration here, but we may actually be running one specific to the web. But for example, on-site experiences now are becoming very very important now with brands. For example, if I'm someone that's a vegan and interested specifically in vegan products, and I go to a food business and I have to search far and wide for vegan products, I don't really want to be doing that every time I land on someone's website. Web personalization is really handy. So the next time I actually come, businesses are learning more about me as an individual, maybe the types of vegan products that I'm interested in, and you'll start receiving relevant content on your website specific to you and your browsing behavior. So personalization now is going kind of more advanced. It's going beyond email, SMS, and it's actually becoming part of a complete digital strategy now. And I'm sure we'll be running, a session on that in due course. So if web personalization is something that you're interested in, please feel free to get in touch. We'll be happy to run any individual demo specific to that. We're just focusing on the Dotdigital platform today and the omnichannel personalization options here. So that's basically everything today. Again, the session is recorded. We'll share that with you. If you do have any questions, maybe you forgot to ask in the platform today, please feel free to reach out.